For Alexis and Arthel, the attack on Congressman Zeldin starkly shows what critics say are the failures of progressive politicians to be tough on crime. They point to New York State's cashless bail system as a big part of that problem. Two noted law enforcement unions, the Lieutenants Benevolent Association and Captains Endowment Association, out with this joint statement saying, quote, "As New York State's leading law enforcement organizations, we strongly condemn Albany's reckless cashless bail agenda that releases dangerous criminals back on the streets within hours after their arrests, whether they live in rural upstate New York or in the middle of New York City. Citizens across the state have suffered. It's time for Albany's leadership to finally stop protecting criminals and start protecting everyday New Yorkers." Charlie Hurt, opinion editor for the Washington Times and a Fox News contributor, joins us now. Charlie, first, it seems that the feds breaking this hour. How are you? It seems the feds breaking this hour that the federal authorities will bring charges against the suspect. The feds are doing what New York state law enforcement can't because some of the lax laws.
Well, precisely, and it really does sort of highlight not only the incredible frustration among police who are trying to do the an impossible job to begin with, but trying to keep these people off the streets, to have them just sort of dumped back on the streets. The fact that we have to get federal charges here underscores the insanity of these state and local laws that are allowing these people to go back out on the streets. And in terms of a sort of political issue, I can't think of anything more volatile. We're already in a pretty politically volatile environment and have been for some years now. But I can't think of anything that actually throws gasoline onto what is already a volatile situation than something like this. It's like the economy. Crime, you cannot hide from crime. And when politicians have, and obviously not all Democrats are in favor of this defund the police and no cash bail policies. But the problem is when you have really loud people in your party, in the Democrat Party, who have for years now talked about defunding the police and no cash bail, it turns it into, it weaponizes the issue into a political cudgel that I don't see how it doesn't have a huge impact in November's election.
We're looking at that video right now next to you. I mean, it's Congressman Zeldin is extremely fortunate that the suspect walked up to him slowly with that sharp edge thing, so that the congressman, who is a Iraq veteran, was able to grab the guy's arm himself. I mean, this could have been much worse. And you point out, though, at one point in terms of cash bail, the critics of or the supporters of no cash bail, they say, well, it unfairly hurts minorities. It unfairly hurts those people who can't afford bail. So what do you say to that? And that's the reason why they decided to have cashless bail, because if not having the funds to have bail, it really unfairly helps people with means.
Well, certainly this is an issue that I think good-minded people on both sides of the aisle are willing to sort of figure out and wrestle with. But the idea of just removing cash bail and allowing violent criminals, basically decriminalizing violent behavior, and the idea that this was an attempted assault. This was not an attempted assault. This was an assault. He reached the congressman, and he had to be dragged to the ground and pulled away. And thank God there were some quick-thinking people around him. I was trying to imagine what I would have done if I'd been standing next to him. I think I would have just been sort of weirded out by the whole situation and might not have acted as quickly as those people did. So thank God that they did. But here's the thing. The problem with this solution or non-solution is that who does it hurt? It hurts, it disproportionately hurts people in those very minority neighborhoods, those very poor neighborhoods where crime is a problem in the first place. And so the idea that this is somehow a solution to a problem, to a legitimate problem, and I'm sympathetic. I think a lot of good-minded people are sympathetic to it, but this isn't the way to do it. And in fact, it makes it much, much worse. And that's why I talk about the political aspect of all of it. Nobody, Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, whatever your race or gender, nobody wants their families to be exposed to this kind of crime. Nobody does. And that's why an issue like this cuts across all of those issues, political boundaries, and becomes a very, very hot topic in an election.
And finally, New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who was on the streets as a police officer for many years. He has talked about this issue, has been very critical of it, especially as it affects minority communities, of course, as you say, Charlie. Here's what Mayor Adams had to say.
What kind of criminal justice system is that? You make an arrest on Monday for grand larceny. The person is out on Tuesday. He does it again on Thursday. And it is as though why the numbers are going up, because the catch, release, repeat, these guys are saying this criminal justice system is a joke.
Look what he says in terms of this, that whole issue. Your final word on it, Charlie.
And of course, that's how Mayor Adams got elected, is making those arguments that Democrats and Republicans in New York City all agreed with him on. The problem is he doing enough as mayor to actually fix the problem? And I think a lot of people would wring their hands and say he's not doing enough to make good on those promises.
Well, at least he talks the talk. We'll have to see with him, and then we'll have to see if the law changes in New York State. At least the feds are taking action for Congressman Zeldin. We wish him well. And by the way, he will be here on Fox News Live tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. We will discuss this issue of crime. Charlie, good to see you. Thank you.
Great to see you, Eric.
Of course.